Hello everybody, welcome to Dirty Air. I'm your host Alex Lambert, and let's talk about a wild race today at Kansas Speedway and a big win for Kurt Busch, 2311 Racing, Michael Jordan, and Toyota. A huge win today for Kurt Busch. Kyle Larson putting himself in the wall while leading like 6 times. And then of course, we got to talk about the insane action-packed finish, a great battle for the win between Kurt Busch and Kyle Larson at the end of this race. Let's go ahead and get right on into it. First off, Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch winning. He gets one win a year, I think, for the last. He got a clutch win at Kentucky a few years ago. He got that clutch win at Atlanta last year, and then he won today at Kansas. So winning at these cookie cutter 1.5 mile tracks seems to be the trend for Kurt Busch. But I don't know. This could be maybe not his only win of this season. He was really fast today. He's been running better and better every single week. We'll have to see how this continues to unfold. See if he can get a little bit better in the future. But this is a major win for a lot of different reasons. I can go on and on about why this is a huge win for not only Kurt Busch, but for Denny Hamlin. Because Denny Hamlin went into last year, 2021, and said, we're going to build this new team. This is a big win for Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's logo was on the car today for his team. And it's just overall a huge win. And not only that, a big win for Toyota as well. I mean, Toyota has been the whole talk of the season. Where is Toyota? Where's Joe Gibbs? Where's Kurt Busch and Bubba Wallace? They've been running in the back for a lot of these races and haven't been really consistent outside of, Kyle Busch and Christopher Bell. But today, the Toyotas were extremely fast. Obviously, the Toyota's getting that win. And then, of course, when I go through the top 10 here in a little bit, I'm going to name a lot of Toyota drivers because Toyota did a fantastic job today. They have found something. They have found some speed, and they have been extremely fast for the last couple of weeks. They were really fast at Dover, starting to find that speed last week at Darlington. But today they showed that Joe Gibbs Racing and Toyota are 100% back. They got that strategic win at Richmond. They kind of got lucky. Kyle Busch kind of lucked into one at the Bristol Dirt a few weeks ago. But today, coming to an intermediate style racetrack where that kind of fills up the playoffs, it's certainly big to get that win. So congratulations to Kurt Busch. Obviously a big win for him, like I said. And then, of course, the big win for Michael Jordan with the Michael Jordan logo on the car as well. So it's certainly definitely really exciting. A really cool win to see. It's cool to see Kurt Busch get the win. Obviously, he gets pumped up when he wins. But it was cool to see the Michael Jordan logo come across the line first. And even Kurt Busch said it in his interview. He was like, I put the GOAT's logo on my car. I got to run good for the GOAT. So that's obviously really, really exciting to see. So I'm glad they got that win and a big win for 2311. The second win for that organization since they opened up. But the first non-rain short, non-super speedway win. And I'm not trying to discredit the win that Bubba Wallace got, but it definitely is different to get to come across the checker, to come across that line first, and for it to, obviously for it not to be rain short and to come across that line first, and to win it at an intermediate style racetrack, which kind of fills up a lot of the NASCAR schedule. So certainly a big win for that reason as well. So very emotional win for Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin was actually tearing up a little bit in his post-race interview. But let's go through the top 10 here. Obviously, like I said, Kurt Busch finishing in the first position. Kyle Larson, he did run in a Chevrolet. Kyle Larson, oh man, he was really fast, but I think he was running everything he had at the end of this race and really the entire day when Kurt Busch and Kyle Busch maybe not so much. Kyle Larson got loose, hit the wall 3 times while he was leading, I believe. You saw Cliff Daniels kind of, put his hands up. He was like, "Dag, again, Kyle?" But yeah, he got the lead. He got past Kurt Busch on a couple of restarts, would hit the wall. Got past him on another restart, would hit the wall, and then ultimately at the end of the race, Kyle Larson was leading with 8 laps to go. Kurt Busch kind of pinned him up there a little bit, got real close to him. Definitely Kurt Busch ran everything he had, and Kyle Larson did as well. And unfortunately, with Kyle Larson being on the high side, Larson nudged that wall a little bit, obviously slowing him down enough to where Kurt Busch would take the lead and ultimately take the win away from Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson might have won this race if it wasn't for lap traffic, but who knows? Lap traffic's played into the role of plenty of races before this season, and obviously in the past, especially at Kansas and tracks like Chicago and Texas and stuff. So that was no different today. Kyle Busch finishing third, another consistent finish for Kyle. Kyle's been really fast lately. He's running up front, like I said. The last 2 years, Kyle's been trying to kind of catch up with everybody else. I think he's there. I think, obviously you're not going to be the fastest car every single week, but he's been really fast so far this season. Been the fastest car at a couple of races, even though he didn't get the win. I go back to Dover. go back to Las Vegas even at the beginning of the year. So it's cool to see him continuing to run up front. And I think he was a little bit faster than Kyle Larson today as well, but a third place finish nonetheless. Got to take that when you're Kyle Busch. I don't think anybody was really as fast as Kurt Busch was today. Denny Hamlin, another Toyota. Four of the top 5 are all Toyotas. Denny Hamlin, finally, the bad luck runs out. He starts getting, somewhat good luck. I mean, he had some issues at the beginning, but was able to come back from those and finish 4th. That's obviously a great run for him, as well as his team winning. A great day for Denny Hamlin to be able to finish in the top 5. Finally, get that finish. A lot of DNFs this year for Hamlin, but obviously a good run for him. Now, Christopher Bell, like I said, the Toyota's been kind of not so far up there at the beginning of the year. They've obviously found something. They found some speed somewhere, and they've been running fast. They run fast today, very fast today, where pretty much blew out everybody else today. But Christopher Bell is one of those drivers. He's in the top 5 every week. Every week when I go through this list, I name Christopher Bell. So another very consistent finish for Christopher Bell. He's not a winning race car every week, and I don't even know if he's really a top 5 or top 3 car every week, but he's able to get up there and get those finishes, which is very important, especially when you start talking about making the playoffs, when you start talking about, the playoffs, when we get into the playoffs, which is closing up. We're now halfway through with the regular season. We're obviously going to have to watch Christopher Bell. I don't know if he's really a championship contender, but he's definitely one that would, be very consistent. Could knock a championship contender out if they have a bad week. So he's certainly one to watch as well. Martin Truex Jr., another Joe Gibbs Toyota. Ended up finishing 6th today. Truex was running up front, running in the top 5. He was running 4th, I believe, when he had a tire go down. Just tire failures. There's a lot of those today at Kansas. That's obviously another point of concern that needs to be addressed. Once again, I say this every week. The teams need to figure out something to stop these tires from falling off and going out. Or NASCAR, somebody needs to look into that. But more tire failures today. Truex was one of the victims of those tires going down, and Truex ended up finishing 6th. He was able to come back, but he was running 3rd, 4th when that tire went out. Who knows what he could have done if he didn't have to come back from that incident. Maybe he could have, battled for the lead and such. Ross Chastain, Watermelon Man, was running up front today, but then kind of faded. He was, running, led a few laps, was running in the top 2, top 3 at the beginning of the race. Slowly kind of started to fade off, and then ended up finishing in the 7th position. Obviously, that's still a decent finish, but when you're, Ross Chastain, especially this year, you want to be that number 1 position. You want to be winning the race, and wasn't able to do that today. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., another one of those drivers that I said has really stepped up. The 47 team has been running very well the last few weeks. Like I said, with the next-gen car, they have figured something out. Another top 10 finish for Stenhouse. I want to say that's maybe like 3 in a row for Stenhouse, finishing in the top 10, so that's big for him. Alex Bowman, I didn't see him much today. Wasn't really running up front, kind of running the 9th, 10th, 11th place all day. He ended up finishing in the 9th position today. And then, of course, I want to talk about Bubba Wallace Jr. for a little bit because he ended up finishing 10th, although he was really fast all day. Probably could have got a top 5 or better if it wasn't for the issues on pit road. His pit crew has been making a lot of mistakes this year, which I think is something that the team obviously needs to address. You can't keep having those mishaps, those pit road mistakes obviously need to be fixed, and it's really frustrating for Bubba Wallace. I know Bubba was saying some stuff on the radio. Don't know if that was a good idea, but he's definitely getting frustrated, and it is kind of frustrating to watch as well because it's like, dang, man, Bubba Wallace just that team and that crew does tend to make a lot of mistakes, which definitely needs to be is a major point of concern and definitely needs to be addressed if they want to be up there with Kurt Busch getting better finishes and wins. But Darrell Wallace, like I said, great for him to have that fast race car, and hopefully that boosts the momentum for that team. And once again, another Toyota, by the way, finishing up in the top 10 as well. I do want to mention Suarez. Daniel Suarez was to one of those Trackhouse racing teams. Like I said, every time Suarez is running up front, he has something go wrong. I don't know if this was something the team did wrong by not putting enough air in the tire, putting too much air in the tire, or whatnot, but the tire going out is out of the driver's control. And every time Suarez runs up front, I mean, he doesn't run up front every week, but every time he's in the top 5, something like this happens, and it's getting really frustrating to watch because I hate that for Daniel Suarez and that team. It's obviously hurting them in points, and it's just terrible. It's not good for those guys. Of course, William Byron, another one of those cars who was leading laps, had that tire failure while he was leading the race, and then that ultimately cost him a decent finish, and of course ultimately could have cost him the win. We don't know what would have happened if Byron was up front at the end of this race either. Like I said, kind of looks like right now Hendrick and Joe Gibbs Racing are the two fastest teams, and of course the Joe Gibbs affiliated team 2311 racing as well. So it should be interesting to see what happens in the future. I do want to mention Tyler Reddick because he did get involved in another wreck today. I'm gonna start looking at these points a little bit closer on as we get closer to the playoffs. Like I said, race 13 is complete, so we are past the halfway point of the regular season. And another hit for Tyler Reddick, who's dominating these races but can't quite get the win, and has been put in multiple positions to get that win and just can't quite get up there and do it. Logano was slow all day. I didn't even know Logano was in the race except when they showed him. Wasn't really that fast. Definitely wasn't in the top 10. He was running in the 30s for a lot of the day. Another driver who's really hasn't been that fast this season either. But by the way, I do want to mention today's race at Kansas was very entertaining. It was a great race. This next gen car is obviously doing its job at these racetracks, at these mile-and-a-half cookie-cutter racetracks. They become very exciting. I go back to Auto Club early in the year. I go back to Las Vegas. I come to today at Kansas. It's really exciting to see these racetracks. I'm excited. I want to see what we get in the All-Star race next week at Texas and see if this continues. I want to see what we get. I know Texas, right? Maybe the next gen could save Texas and actually have a good race there. Maybe. Let's keep our fingers crossed on that one. And of course we go to Charlotte, where I'm going to try to be in attendance for the Coke 600. That should be interesting. 600 miles of mayhem, right? If the next gen car continues to have these crazy finishes and races. You can see the driver's talent's definitely playing a big role, so I do want to applaud NASCAR on that one. And the racing's just been good. I mean, it's just been really good. These cars are really hard to drive, and you see that with the drivers spinning out and stuff. I do want to mention one thing that I think was a bit of a concern before I end the show, the attendance. The attendance all year has been great. We sold out the Daytona 500, had 160,000 in attendance. If I go to every race this year, we sold out Phoenix earlier. We had a great crowd at really every race up to this point except the last 2 weeks, which is definitely a concern. I think NASCAR can definitely look into what happened today because obviously the weather rolling through the Kansas area definitely didn't help with the attendance. But the ticket sales seem really low, and that doesn't sound good. Even if half the people showed up that had tickets, it still was a really low crowd. You could see Kansas written on the grandstands, and that's definitely not a good look. I think that definitely needs to be a point of concern for some track promoters, maybe the track president. And then I heard there was a major traffic jam outside the track as well, which could decrease the fan experience for future ticket buyers. Definitely, I'm not saying it's a major concern, but definitely needs to be pointed out. See if we can improve what happened by either selling more tickets or managing the traffic jams or something to help prevent that from happening in the future. Next week, Sunday night, we do go to Texas for the All-Star race. I'm pumped for it. It should be good All-Star night. Kind of a crazy format. It should be entertaining, though, and I'll break it down all for you next week. So tune into Dirty Air. Like I said, like and subscribe if you like the video, and come back next week for that All-Star race. And, of course, about Kyle Busch not getting the win and ultimately finishing third. Let's get rowdy.